We are excited to invite you to 2022 Rotary International Convention, Houston, Texas.
There are no limits to what can be discovered.
Our horizons are changing, but we remain resilient.
Because it's in our nature to break down barriers.
To explore the vast world of ideas, culture, and experiences.
The very things that give us new meaning to life.
So what better time than now to take action?
And push the boundaries of what's possible.
To join forces and do something that revitalizes the spirit.
Form connections that broaden our worldview. Share our passion for service with other leaders.
And become inspired to do great things along the way.
Let's take on new horizons and see what's possible.
Because our potential has no limits.
Discover new horizons at the 2022
Rotary International Convention in Houston, Texas.
Come, let's discover new horizons at the 2022 Rotary International Convention, Houston, Texas.
All right. Hey, good evening. Good evening, District 5020 Rotarians, family, and friends. And you know what? We'll leave the hats on, but the masks are off. Thank you, Sumner Rotary, for that great mask. Oh, man. Welcome to our first district conference, in 2 years. 2 years. So, yeah, this is our 2019-2021 District 5020 District Conference. Yes, welcome to Mo and Greg's Great Adventure. But I did tell the planning committee if they wanted a great turnout from our Canadian brothers and sisters, we need to call this event Coach's Corner and let them know that I'm Don Cherry and welcome to Hockey Night in Canada. For those of you that do know me, it's great to see all your smiling and mostly vaccinated faces. For those of you that don't, I'm Paul Harris. It's a little Rotary humor. Is it the truth? So my name is Jamie Gregory. I'm another proud member. It seems like we're all proud members of our Rotary clubs of the Rotary Club of Puyallup in Washington State, where I serve as an area governor for the Mighty 12s in East Pierce County. So when you think about SLIDE, S-L-I-D-E, it's an acronym for the Rotary values, which includes service and leadership and integrity, diversity, and of course the E is because everyone loves fellowship. Since Rotary was founded in 1905, those have been our values and they're still relevant today with some evolution. So diversity in 1905 meant vocational diversity, which simply meant that Paul Harris wanted to be the only lawyer in his club. But of course, now it means religious diversity and ethnic diversity and gender diversity. And then we have this US Supreme Court in 1987 to thank for dragging Rotary into the 20th century then and encouraging Rotary to open its doors to women, finally, which we finally did open in 1989. And you know what? In just 6 years, 7 ladies had already become district governors. Amazing. And well worth it. And thank God we did. You're going to hear 2 speakers this evening who will remind you how important that decision was to make Rotary more diverse today. You know what? You're going to hear a respected singer do our national anthems, and it's going to be awesome. And he's also a Rotarian. We're going to have a conversation with past District Governor Mo and our present District Governor Greg. That's going to be really fun. You know what? On a somber note, you're going to see those Rotarians in our district who have passed in the last 2 years, representing the losses and past District Governor Mo's year of 2019 and 2020, and District Governor Gregg's year in 2021. You'll be inspired by our own Mr. Foundation, past area governor, past council chair, present district foundation chair, Howard Svagals. You'll hear how Howard leads by example and certainly puts service above self. You'll witness the proverbial gavel passing between DG Horn and District Governor-elect Lorna Curtis. And you'll hear from three really dynamic speakers tonight who will truly make this conference worth every loonie. All right, with that, I want to introduce from Canada, Mo Roberts, your district governor, your past district governor, your district governor from 2019-2020, who was robbed out of a district conference last year. She's going to be on, and we're also going to invite up District Governor Gregg Horn. But before that, we're going to have our anthems done, and this is going to be so nice because this is absolutely incredible. His name is Gary Fraze. He's an educator, an educational administrator. He's a choral conductor, vocal instructor with degrees from Brandon University, Southern Methodist University in Dallas, and finally a doctorate in choral conducting and a minor of arts in arts administration from the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. He's presently serving as music director at Cordova Bay United Church, Victoria, as a pianist and organist, soloist, choral and band conductor. Very talented man. He is a past president of the Rotary Club of Sydney by the Sea in Sydney, BC. Please put your proverbial hands together for Gary Fraze.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true North strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Fraze. Wow, what a talented Rotarian. Thank you, Gary. So let's bring up District Governor Gregg Horn. You know, my fellow AG, Linda K. Briggs, has a wonderful introduction for Gregg, but you know what we found is that it's really important that we keep this district conference brief. So everybody's heard his introduction. You know, he's got a passion for water. He's a world champion water skier. He's a barefoot skier, which means he went like 80 miles an hour. That's Canadians, like 12 miles an hour US. But I mean, he's really a talented guy. He's always lived on the water. He's an exceptional leader. And I'd like to invite up District Governor Greg Horn. And from Canada, we've got Mo Roberts. And you know what? We're going to ask him some questions because Mo, for crying out loud, great to see you, Mo.
Nice to be here.
So Mo, I do have a question for you. And that is, you know, you're a full year removed, right, from being the district governor, right? Which means you've had a full year now to digest the hand that you were dealt and sort of reflect on it. So can you tell everybody here tonight maybe what your top 3 takeaways from your year as DG was?
Ooh, that's a pretty incredible question, Jamie. And I think about it, I've got so many takeaways, but if I had to narrow it down to 3, I'd have to say number 1, if there was ever a time the world needed Rotarians, it was when COVID hit. You know, it was March 2020, and something really unique happened after that. Clubs started working together, and there was something that came out from Rotary International. It was a disaster grant, and they made it available to every district. You could get one. It was $25,000. That was $40 million worldwide, and Bainbridge Island took them up on it, and they used that money for the food bank. That quick response by Bainbridge echoed what other clubs were doing in their communities. So that's number 1, right. I'd have to say. Number 2 is the incredible cooperation between clubs. You only have to look at the Courage Classic bike race. I mean, I had the extreme pleasure to be invited to celebrate the official plaque and recognition of this collaborative effort between all of the Rotary clubs in Pierce County, where they were recognized for a $10 million endowment they raised. It really was the highlight of my August visits. And here's the kicker. The huge bonus was being district governor. The Rotarians in this district decided that I should get to show up. And so I kind of get recognition for what everybody else did. But I have to say they got back at me. They threw me a curveball because I was invited, but they told me, hey, there's going to be no time for a district governor to get up and speak. And when they were doing the unveiling, the MC called on me to say a few words. So as a district governor, you got to be a little humble all the time. You don't know what's going to be tossed your way. And the other thing I found out that I really love is that there's no challenge too big to tackle. The giving to the foundation didn't diminish. In fact, at Zone, we finished first in overall foundation giving out of 14 districts. We swept all the public image awards for 14 districts. And we started 2 new special recognitions with the Foundation Champions and the Polio Plus Society. I'd say that the Rotary Club District 5020 are stars right here at home and on the bigger stage as well. So those are my takeaways.
All right, Mo, those are perfect. So when COVID hit, you were cruising right through your first 2/3 of your year, right? And you probably gone to many or most of the clubs, made your visits by then. So what happened? I mean, when it hit, what were your first thoughts and what did you do?
Oh, well, I think that's one of those things, like, you know, people can tell you exactly where they were when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. They can tell you where they were when 9/11 hit. And I can tell you where we were in Florida, helping out with a really serious family situation. And we realized we had to get back home before the borders closed. So Dale and I got the last 2 seats on a flight, and we were stuffed to the gills on our return flight. And I think that's what happened to all of us, really. We tried to find a safe place. And for clubs, that meant that they couldn't meet anymore in person. It was pretty isolating. But the bright spot for District 5020 was Zoom, because it wasn't new to us. We'd already used it for all of our council meetings because it was efficient and cost effective. And so when I proposed we buy those 17 licenses and the AGs would each have one to take out to their clubs, they were on it quick as could be. Meredith was the AG that made sure she gave her lunch hours so Rotarians could get trained if they needed. So yeah, we were a bit shaky, but now I'd pretty much say we're Zoom experts. But my favorite story came out of Meredith's club. They have a longtime member. She's in her 80s and she had to go visit her doctor over Zoom. And he was just amazed at how savvy she was with the technology. He mentioned he had some much younger patients who were lost trying to get logged on, and he just wondered how she did it. Her answer, well, I'm a Rotarian, and we know how to take the steps to survive a pandemic. That story is priceless. The Rotarian's priceless because there was no hiding. It was find a way to get on with life, and she did it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Hey, Greg, okay, since Mo was in Florida trying to get back home, you were the district governor-elect. So did you take on a different role during COVID or anything? What was that like?
I didn't really take on a different role because Mo is the governor, she's the boss, but I'm there to support her. I just tried to do everything I could to figure out Zoom, which I already knew, but I had to up my skills in Zoom and figure out how to mute and unmute seamlessly.
Right.
I learned it quite quickly, I think, and I was pretty instrumental in helping the clubs move into the Zoom arena. And thank goodness for Zoom. I've always, in almost all of my official talks, I've taken a second and thanked Zoom, because I don't know how we would have operated this past year without. And the clubs are quite nimble. Even though that we probably have an older age group than many organizations, they learn technology. Most people were a little bit nervous at first, but once they figured out Zoom, they got into it. And one of the proudest moments I had, one of my members of my club, I think he was 92 years old, having a little bit of a problem on Zoom. And I talked to him and I said, why don't you get your grandchild over and get a few pointers? And boom, he was in on Zoom. I don't think he'd missed a meeting since. He got it figured out with some younger help, and it works. It works for everybody.
That is awesome. Yeah. Hey, Mo, you were only a few weeks away when COVID hit from the district conference or district training. What did you do?
You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a team of incredible volunteers to come together to solve a problem, and they did. The conference team and I guess both the conference team and the training team got together, and they did all the necessary tasks, like canceled the venues, the speakers. We even recouped our initial deposits. And then Greg, he took that training team and kicked into gear and created the first visual training event with an amazing cocktail party at the end. Let's just celebrate that for one little moment here. When was the last time our district had a sitting Rotary International president attend an event here live? But that's what happened. RI President Mark Maloney awarded Tom Carroll his that evening. It was pretty spectacular. So and the other thing that was pretty cool is that our entire conference was recorded in UD 5020. That was a brilliant project that Caleb initiated and a keepsake forever. But the biggest bonus for me was the funds. There was one very positive spin-off. Joan Peggs was adamant we'd raise dollars by fundraising. And of course, any fundraising dollars we secured, we had to give back. But we got $5,000 from the Coastal Community Credit Union on Vancouver Island. When we went to them to let them know the conference was canceled, we asked if they'd be interested in using those funds to help out communities during COVID. We discussed our similar philosophies of making a difference in our communities, and the end result was 5 matching grants of $1,000 each with Rotary clubs. We need to partner more with other organizations and businesses. In the case of the credit union, they were surprised how many Rotarians I could name who worked for them.
Wow, nice. Hey, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to give you one word, and I want you to give me a one-word answer. Okay, what does this word mean to you? You ready? Zoom. Greg?
Oatmeal.
Oatmeal.
When I was a child, my mom fixed me Zoom. It was kind of an oatmeal substitute, and that's what I thought Zoom was. And my whole life, that was the only connection I had until a few years ago.
Okay.
I watched some TV.
Yeah.
And I heard Zoom, Zoom.
And?
Mazda commercials. So I had 2 Zooms.
Mo.
And then last year, Zoom again.
Okay. And how about this last Zoom?
Oh, it's Zoom all over.
Yeah.
I wish I would have bought stock in Zoom. You want a little interesting fact I found out? November of last year, just before COVID, Zoom had 10 million customers worldwide. 3 months later, after COVID hit, they had 60 million.
Wow.
I have no idea how many they had now, but I wish I would have been bought stock in Zoom way back then. They've done well.
Mo, how about
Thank
you?
you.
What does Zoom mean to you?
Well, after that, I got to tell you, foundation, because if you bought stock in Zoom, you better be making a donation to the foundation.
A way to benefit the foundation. That's a benevolent heart. I appreciate that. Okay. You know, there's probably a lot of Rotarians here tonight who would consider serving at the district level, but maybe they don't feel like they're qualified or they haven't had training. What would be your advice to those Rotarians tonight about serving outside their club?
I think that Greg should answer that. That's a hard question.
Well, I'll be glad to.
Greg?
Rotary is all about service. And the first level of service starts at the club. And that's what I thought I was getting into 25 years ago when I joined my own club, Lakewood Rotary. I was told it was a service organization. And certainly it was.
The first.
Yeah, the first. Yeah, and the biggest. But along the way, I've learned it's a lot more than just a service organization. It's also a leadership organization. And I'm so proud of how they've grown and diversified. But you asked about Rotary beyond the club level. And what I call it is Rotary beyond the club level, that is serving at the district level. Well, Rotary clubs throughout the world are assembled into groups of clubs, generally from about 40 to 100 group clubs make up a district. And so serving at the district level, I got my first experience quite a few years ago when I was asked to become assistant governor like you are. And boy, I had more fun that year. That is absolutely the best job in Rotary.
Greg was a great assistant governor too. He even started sponsoring a huge beer fest that benefited polio plus. Yeah.
But my 3 years as assistant governor really gave me a new insight. And I think a lot of people are at the club level and they're afraid to take that next big step. And I will absolutely promise you, if you move up to the district level, everything you will do will come back in multiple ways. You will just learn so much more about Rotary, how it functions, and just an opportunity to give and get a lot of enjoyment from what you're doing.
So don't be fearful.
Don't be fearful. There's training. There is more training and available, free for everybody at all levels, all the way up.
Perfect. Mo, anything to add to that?
No, I think that Greg hit the nail right on the head. That is, we've upped the ante in District 5020 for training, you know, the amount of training that's available. And Lorna Curtis, she did this cool thing. She just jumped in and made sure that we've got all of these great job descriptions. So if somebody's interested in coming and looking at a district position when they're advertised, do, because I think it's a great party.
Okay, it is. Okay, so Mo, going into your year, you obviously had some goals. You talked about foundation awards that the district won at the zone level and things like that. How Caleb and public image was off the charts. What kind of goals did you have going into your year, and how did they turn out?
Well, I'm a little afraid to answer that because I see Jarita's on the Zoom call and I might get in trouble. Because I should have had these fabulous goals about, you know, how much we're going to give to the foundation and how much we were going to do in the way of public image and membership. But I let the club set those goals. As district governor, I came in with one major goal, and that was to measure everything we did as a district by how it would benefit our Rotary clubs. And if we looked at something and it wasn't going to benefit Rotary clubs, then let's not do it.
I like that.
So that was my number one goal. And the second goal I had was to create a strategic plan. And I got to thank District Governor-elect Lorna again, because she didn't want to do it, but she knows when a Rotarian gets asked, the answer is yes, and she led that. So yeah, those were my 2 goals, and I feel really good about those.
All right. Well, you led with such incredible energy. I mean, I think that was the Energizer Bunny and things like that were always the things that were used to describe Mo Roberts, and she did. She led with incredible amount of energy and passion and fun and joy. We remember the joy that you talked about in all of our club meetings. We appreciate that. Okay, so the same question to you. Goals coming in, you had no idea if the COVID thing was going to last a year or 6 months. You probably thought we're going to be back to meeting and by July.
I did. When it hit, I thought it was going to be a short-term thing. I heard on the news that when it warmed up for the summer, the COVID virus was going to die off and we'd be back to normal. We weren't. And so we had to make some different changes. We had to change the way Rotary operates. And I'm kind of a gadget fan. I'm not nearly as techie as my kids. I learn a lot from my kids on technology, but I love gadgets. I love iPhones. Can't figure out the Androids at all, but I do love iPhones. I love laptop computers. I love communication technology. I'm fascinated by it and by how quickly it's changing. And so I wanted to move the district forward in the area of electronic communications, and I think I did. But I've seen some people unwilling to learn new technology, and I'm afraid some of those people are going to get left behind. Technology is changing at an increasing rate. We've got to stay up with things, period. I love gadgets and I love technology.
All right, shift gears a little bit. Mo, what was your greatest, you had a lot of training to become a district governor, but what was your greatest fear going into your year?
I don't think I had any. I think I was just so excited.
You know what? I believe that. I believe that. Okay, what was your greatest hope?
Oh, I hope that every single club president would achieve a presidential citation, because I knew that I was working with the best of the best, the cream of the crop. And some of them came so close and just didn't quite get there. But man, even though they may have not got that little piece of paper, they're all presidents that deserve a citation in my heart.
All right. Okay, so how about this? Did you feel like going into your Rotary year as district governor that you really were fully prepared and understood what was going to be expected of you?
Oh, absolutely. I thought I've never had so much training. I mean, I knew where everything was on Rotary's website, and I was so ready that when COVID hit, I thought, we didn't plan for this. I don't know how we're going to get through this. So there is no way you can go in with that kind of confidence, because something will knock you off your little podium.
Exactly. Okay, Greg, same thing.
Yeah.
What was your greatest fear going in?
I guess I got to turn the clock back to the year 2008. That was the year I got to go to what's called Pacific Northwest PETS. It is the President-elect Training Seminar. I was in line to become club president. I was at this wonderful conference up at the Doubletree Inn in Seattle, and Cliff Docterman, past president of Rotary International, and one of the greatest presidents ever, got up to speak. And he gave this amazing speech. And at the end of his talk, he cautioned every one of the 500 of us in the room to get prepared for your year as your club president. He says, the worst feeling in the world is if you don't prepare and you get into being a club president and you just bumble along. At the end of the year, you're going to have a very big wish. And that wish is that you had a do-over. Well, for most of us, there are no do-overs. There are some people that get the opportunity to leave their club twice, but coming from a big club that, like I was, it's a one-time opportunity. And Cliff said, do it right the first time. And I took that advice along with me on this path to becoming district governor. I don't always prepare as best I could. I try to be prepared, but I maybe could do a little better. But I didn't want to get to the end of my year as governor with a regret that I wished I had it to do over again. And I don't. I've had a great year. Thank you.
All right. Hey, but what was your greatest hope going into your year?
I had two hopes. I had a hope that we could increase membership, and I had a hope that we could increase foundation giving.
All right.
And guess what? We've done both.
All right. Nice
Yep.
job.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, how did your training to lead you into being district governor, you felt like it was adequate?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did your year meet expectations or exceed
It
expectations?
exceeded expectations. It exceeded it because of all of the support we have in this organization. I wasn't sitting there by myself. I had a team behind me. I had 35 people on the district council, 18 assistant governors, of which you're one. And it's just teamwork and leadership in an organization that just works tirelessly. I'm so proud to be any part of this organization, and I've had a great year.
Thanks, Greg. How many club meetings did you attend this year?
Well, I've had a different year. I have not set foot in Canada yet this year. Typically, the governor visits every club at least once and gives an official talk. Well, I've certainly done that. We have 91 Rotary clubs in our district, and we have 2 Rotaract clubs. I've been at every one of the Rotary clubs multiple times, and one of the Rotaract clubs multiple times. My total count is over 300 Zoom meetings.
Wow.
And one of the things I'm proudest of is that because of Zoom, I'm getting to know the individual members so well in the clubs because of the multiple meetings. And that's not only in our district, this is around the world. I'm a frequent visitor at a little club south of England, absolutely fun little club, and also one in St. Petersburg, Russia. The beauty of Zoom is that we can visit clubs anywhere we want and develop new friendships.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Mo, anything else before we leave?
No, I just want to say how much I appreciate everything that everybody does in this district to make us so spectacular. And I really want to thank you tonight, Greg, for letting me join you in this virtual conference, because I always call the 2019-2020 conference the conference that never was. So thank you again for letting me join you tonight.
It wouldn't be right to do this without you, Mo. We had some recognitions. You know, a conference is a celebration of the club successes throughout the year, and you didn't really get a chance to celebrate all of your club successes. And that's why I invited you to join me. And I know you turned me down at first, but I was so happy when you said, yeah, we'll share some successes. Thank you.
All right. You were going to have a district conference.
Yes, I
It
was.
going to be where?
I was going to be at the Great Wolf Lodge water park. Man, I love water. And God, we had everything going for us. It was going to be May 14th and 15th. Didn't matter what the weather was, because it's in this beautiful water park, great conference center, absolute state-of-the-art audio and visual equipment. And then COVID came. So we had to cancel it. We had a very, very large deposit down for all of the rooms. And I cannot say enough good things about the Great Wolf Lodge. Once they realized that we had a COVID crisis on our hands, they asked if we wanted to cancel. And we said, I'm sorry, we have to. And they wrote a check and refunded the money instantly. Not a question. I hope to be back there someday. But I really had a lot of fun making a commercial. And Corey Leparty, one of our key people in the district, filmed it for me. And I think we've got a little commercial that, are you ready to run it, Corey?
Hi, I'm Greg Horn, Governor-elect for Rotary District 5020. And I'd like to invite you to the District Training and Conference at the Great Wolf Lodge in Grand Mound, Washington.
We're planning a conference unlike anything you've seen before, with fun for the whole family. And while Rotarians are in meetings and training sessions, your kids will be just down the hall enjoying all the other activities, like the arcade or the Magic Quest, a snack at the candy store, or settle in for daily story time. And don't forget the water park with wading pools, hot tubs, and big water slides. The Great Wolf Lodge has a state-of-the-art conference center, and all conference and training sessions will be held at this facility. Think of it as continuing education for Rotarians. So once again, we're running the district council meeting. and everything is really good until one of the members objects.
Point of order, Governor Gregg, point of order. I'd just like to bring up the fact that we don't always...
And that's how we run the District 5020. We have no objections to the way I'm handling things. It just runs smoothly. In 2021, we're going to have everything under one roof, and you don't want to miss it. The Great Wolf Lodge is conveniently located right off of I-5 with lots of free parking. So register for the 2021 District Training and Conference in Grand Mountain, Washington. It's going to be a splash.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Well, thank you, Corey. Thank you, my son Zach, for helping with the filming of that. And I wish we could have been there, but another year perhaps.
Greg, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
All right. Great
Awesome.
job. Great job. Mo, thank you. And thank you for your wonderful year last year and providing incredible leadership when COVID hit. You know, I forgot to thank, it reminded me, I saw Jerry Obendorf, and Jerry and Marnie have opened up their the Keller Williams Palace here in Lacey, Washington, which is the gateway to Yelm. And it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, Corey and Caleb have this thing set up like Studio 1A. We've got more lights and stuff. I mean, I'm used to a flashlight hooked onto my Atari computer, and this is just incredible. And I want to thank you guys for all the hot lights and making us sweat up here. But on a serious note, I do want to let us know as we go into this next segment, we need to take a moment and we need to pause. And with reverence as we reflect on those names and faces of members of our Rotary family who we've lost in the past 2 years. So for those folks, thank you for your good and faithful service. This is titled, Are You? Are you an active member, the kind that's liked so well? Or are you just contented with the button on your lapel? Do you attend the meetings and mingle with the flock? Or do you stay at home and criticize and not? Do you take an active part to help the work along? Or are you satisfied to be the kind that just belongs? Do you help the club and be ready and willing to do? Do you help to think and plan, or leave the work to just a few? So come to the meetings often and help with hand and heart. Don't be just a member, but take an active part. Think things over, members. You know right from wrong. Are you an active member, or do you just belong? Thank you all for your good and faithful service. Boy, the number of hours of volunteerism, the influence, the capacity to care and to give of those people that we lost. That was the last couple of years has been tough. But to change gears a little bit, I'm excited. I'm excited to introduce a Rotarian since 1993. Jorita Solari is currently, of course, a proud member of the Rotary Club of Anaheim, California. She served as district governor for District 5320 in 2010 and 11 and has been selected to serve as the Rotary International Director for the years 2019 through 2021 and Rotary International Vice President in 2020, 2021. As district governor, Jorita held the first District 5320 $1 million dinner for Rotary Foundation. Now that's either how much they raised or how much each plate cost. Either way, it was a big night. Under her leadership, District 5320 became the second district in the world to become a 100% Paul Harris Club district. Jorita and her husband, Bruce, live in Villa Park, California, where professionally, Jorita is co-founder and chief visionary officer of Solari Enterprises, Incorporated. It's a full-service property management company specializing in the management of affordable multi-family housing. She works together with her husband and daughters to create a working environment with a high level of ethics and integrity, or I think they probably use the four-way test on a regular basis. She has served in many capacities on community and industry boards. Rotary plays a really important role in the Solari's life. Jorita, her husband Bruce, and their two daughters, Gianna and Tressa, are all past presidents and active supporters of the Rotary Foundation. Jorita's son-in-law, Reese, is a Paul Harris Fellow and an active supporter of all things Rotary. It is the first time in Rotary history, now let's stay with me, baby birds, I'll feed you here. It is the first time in Rotary history that a Rotary International Director is serving at the same time her daughter is district governor. Bruce and Jorita enjoy their long-time membership in the Rotary International Fellowship of Scuba Divers. So if Karen and Rick Hansen are listening, it's time to invite the Solaris to the Narrows Bridge and go to Galloping Gertie and see all those octopi down there at the bottom of Puget Sound. It's an incredible experience, I'm sure. Among the many positions Jorita has held in Rotary, she has served as chair of the 2013 Southern California Nevada Pets Training. She's been the training leader at 2 international assemblies. She's chaired the Rotary Institute of Zones 25 and 26. Suzanne Johnston, I think that's where you probably first heard her and were inspired and lit your Rotary flame, and served on various Rotary International committees. Jorita and Bruce are champions of our Rotary Foundation and members of the Arch Clump Society, Paul Harris Society members and major donors. Her Rotary CV looks more like the index of the Rotary International Directory. I'm not kidding. Suffice it to say, Jorita Solari is more than qualified to lead this organization. District 5020 Rotary members and guests, please put your virtual hands together and welcome our special guest, Jorita Solari.
Amy, you're an extraordinary and fun master of ceremonies. Thank you so much. That was excellent. Did I write that? I think I did.
Paraphrase some of it.
Well, Governor Greg and Mary, immediate past District Governor Mo and Dale, District Governor-elect Lorna and Chris, District Governor nominee Dale and Mo. What? Now that's modeling continuity. I think it's the ultimate example of continuity. All past district governors, family and friends of Rotary International District 5020. Oh, wait a minute, and I don't want to forget Zoom. Let's don't forget Zoom. It is a joy and a privilege to be with you this evening, to see many new friends that I've made over the past 2 years and old ones that I can't wait to see again. My congratulations to the district conference team, especially Corey and Caleb, making this a successful and fun conference. And Mary, thank you for your special attention to make sure that I had everything I needed. Governor Greg, past Governor Mo, I'm impressed that you decided to share this conference as you've led 5020 with a distinction these past 2 years. And these past 2 years will no doubt go down in the Rotary history books. I think you'll agree with me that the presidential themes, Rotary connects the world and Rotary opens opportunities, could not be more relevant or real these past Rotary years. And I congratulate all of you on successfully navigating these unique and challenging times. This pandemic brought us a once-in-a-lifetime disruption of how we live our lives and how we do the business of Rotary. This disruption happened with breathtaking abruptness and certainly didn't come with an instruction manual, but you figured it out and continued to provide Rotary service to your clubs, your community, and the world. Anyone who's taken part in Rotary knows that our organization is so much more than a collection of clubs. And this has never been more evident than in these past 2 years. So many members of our Rotary family are thinking outside the box. In fact, some are even breaking that box. They, like you, are taking advantage of the new opportunities presented to you as a result of the changes we are experiencing due to COVID-19. As I said, all over the world, Rotarians are adapting the way we connect and serve. Rotarians are disrupting what people thought about Rotary. And you are reinventing how we do the business of Rotary. You are creating our new normal, embracing what's new and different. We're going to come out of this together and even better than before. The Rotarians and Rotaractors in District 5020 are living the strength of Rotary's action plan, increasing our ability to adapt. As you heard, Greg visited all 92 Rotary clubs and 2 Rotaract clubs in your district, almost all via Zoom. And how fantastic it is that he set such a high bar for having more than 300 Zoom visits. And Mo, you had to shift from in-person meetings and figure out how and when to use the Zoom platform for successful meetings, socials, fundraisers, knowing that we don't want to live in a virtual world, but taking advantage of what does work going forward and increasing our impact. So let me just chat with you just a minute about polio. Do you know that District 5020 is number 3 in polio contributions in Zone 27? Congratulations, that is awesome. And in part, because of your generosity, there are only 2 countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan, that have cases of the wild polio virus. And since the there are only 2 cases that have been reported so far this year and none since February. This is huge. You're committed to get the job done, to crossing that finish line. You know, we stand on the brink of one of the world's most amazing humanitarian achievements, a world without polio. You can be proud of your contributions to this success. And then we have enhancing participant engagement. You are making Rotary more relevant and valuable to your club members. At the very least, throughout this district, you're hearing about club members who are coming back to Rotary because they're able to meet virtually and expanding the reach. You're reaching into communities like never before and doing service you never thought you'd be doing in your own communities. In fact, I heard when Governor Gregg was an assistant governor, let's see, how'd that story go? Oh, he was late for one of his Rotary Club meetings, but Looking at his watch, he realized that he could make it to the meeting in time. So he rushed into the restaurant where the table is set up to collect the money, and that blue banner was hung across the back of the room, and the lectern was up, but albeit it was in a different location. And the lady at the table asked who he was, and he rather importantly announced, "I'm their assistant governor." And she welcomed him and said, "Oh, heck, the lunch is on us." Well, Greg immediately proceeded to the buffet and filled his plate and went right up to the head table. And he was greeted by a man with a clipboard, but Greg didn't recognize him. And it was at this point he was close enough to that blue banner and noticed it said Kiwanis, not Rotary. Now, if it wasn't, if that's not expanding our reach, I'm not sure what is. And really, you're going to have to talk to Greg to hear how that story ended. You know, friends, this disruption has presented us with an opportunity to ask two very important questions. Why do we do the things we do? And why do we do those things the way we do them? You see, knowing why we do what we do is really knowing our purpose, our calling. Knowing our why drives and motivates us and inspires others. As Simon Sinek says, success comes when we wake up every day in the never-ending pursuit of why we do what we do. As we all explore innovating for the future, let's begin with the strength of our individual why. Friends, you have to know that Rotary is a force. It's a force that puts us in touch with millions of others who share our belief in making the world a better place. Rotary connects us with new ways to make a difference and new networks of people who to make that difference with. I must say I'm amazed and humbled by your resilience, your ability to adapt, to continue, to open opportunities to increase your impact by reaching out and engaging Rotarians and Rotaractors and your communities, both locally and globally. It is truly inspirational for me to see you putting forth every effort to do good in the world, taking advantage of all the opportunities Rotary opens to us. Through your service, you've planted the precious seeds of hope. You've given the gift of laughter and imagination to children that had none. You've showed troubled youth that had given up, that you care about them, and that the community cares about them. You've collected food for those who are less fortunate than you. You support Interact clubs, giving young people an opportunity to participate in fun, meaningful service projects while developing leadership skills and responsible citizenship and international understanding and peace. You've given the gift of higher education to those who couldn't afford to pay for it. You've given the gift of literacy, instilling the love of reading at an early age. You gave children their first books to read. You've supported RILA, encouraging young people to stretch their competitive muscle, learn the value of integrity, and give them the ability to see and know their inner strengths to become better people. You have shown the people in your communities you care about them. All over the world, you're giving people their dignity, gifts of self-reliance, mobility, clean water, sustainability. You bought polio vaccines. You gave polio vaccines. You are giving the children of this world another chance to live a better life without being paralyzed. You've shared your love, your humor, and your time. You shared your hearts with your communities in the world. You have changed lives, saved lives. You have touched people you will never see. You have followed through with your promise to do good in the world. You are the Rotary leaders who are changing mindsets to do good in the world in different and impactful ways because you are doing it now. You've demonstrated no challenge is insurmountable in Rotary in our clubs. Rotary is the clubs. Rotary is the clubs in this district. You are showing up with the best version of you, of Rotary. Greg and Mo, under your leadership, you've inspired many to overcome barriers and rise to the challenge, taking care of your members and your communities. We, the family of Rotary, we are the change makers. We are the peacemakers, and the world needs us more now than ever before. Mark Twain said, the two most important days in your life is the day you were born and the day you discovered why you were born. Friends, I challenge you to find your individual why and continue to ride this giant wave of change. Thank you for all that you've done and will continue to do. You are people of action, and through your actions, you're giving messages of hope, inspiration, and gratitude. Congratulations to you all for your incredible years of service. It gives me great pride to be here with you this evening, and I know you're going to have a fantastic time celebrating your successes together. Now, I'm excited to tell you a little bit about our next speaker and the future president of Rotary International, Jennifer Jones. Not very many people know Jennifer lives in the same town she was born and raised in, Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Now, for some of us that don't really know a lot about Canada, let me tell you, Windsor is located in the southernmost part of Canada, right in the middle of the country, dipping down into the middle of the Great Lakes, and on a little peninsula of land surrounded by Lake Erie. Growing up, Jennifer's parents taught her to think big and to encourage her to look at how she could be involved in the community. Like many Rotarians, Jennifer was a Brownie and a Girl Scout. This exposure to service this exposure to service has lived with her ever since. Obviously, the seeds her parents planted in Jennifer flourished to such an extent, it probably made Jack's Beanstalk look a little scrawny. She started as a young fundraiser doing pop bottle drives and going door to door with a little orange UNICEF box at Halloween, which probably helped lead her to being the co-chair of the In Polio Now Countdown to History campaign, which aims to raise over $150 million for the polio eradication efforts. Jennifer has been involved in broadcasting since attending university, and then working in the Caribbean and moving to Manhattan, then returning home where she started her own media company and joined Rotary. And that's where she really felt she found a home in her heart. She's been married to her husband, Nick, for 24 years and credits Rotary for making their marriage stronger, noting that they've walked this Rotary journey together. Jennifer's mom, dad, husband, Nick, her brother, her sister-in-law are all Rotarians. And I hear Jennifer's working on her younger brother to get him into Rotary as well. Jennifer would tell you they're a very all-in Rotary family. My fellow Rotarians, Rotaractors, and friends, I couldn't be more proud to introduce to you my friend and yours, our 2022-2023 Rotary International President, Jennifer Jones.
Thank you and greetings to you all. It is a joy to be with you here today. This year has challenged the world in ways that no one could have anticipated. COVID-19 has changed the way that we work, socialize, and celebrate. And finally, we're starting to see hope on the horizon. Hope for access to vaccines, hope that once again we can be together in person, and yes, hope, the kind that heals our hearts. We have spent much of the last year coping with what the world has placed before us. President Holger speaks often of the care that we have shown each other and how important it is to recognize our bonds of friendship and service. And I am overjoyed that President-elect Shaker continues to turn the spotlight onto Rotary service at a time when the world needs us most. And yes, there are still challenging times ahead, but the world needs us now more than ever, and Rotarians need each other to stay connected and continue to take action against COVID-19. That is the leadership that is entrusted to each of us as leaders in our great organization, to be brave, to be intentional in our actions. I want to share a story with you about when I served as a club president. I must say, I loved being a club president so much that I really hated sitting down at the end of the year. That year was 2001, and I was one of President Rick King's Regal Eagles. It was also the year that will forever be remembered for the date 9/11. Who will ever forget what happened on that fateful Tuesday? My home club meets on Tuesdays, and around 10 a.m. I started receiving calls and emails asking if our meeting was canceled. Somehow, I knew at that moment that we needed to be together, to be in shared experience. As you likely know, I'm Canadian, and on that day, as the meeting began, we stood facing the American flag and sang the Star-Spangled Banner, their anthem, and wept alongside our friends on the other side of the border. Our speaker on that day was a young Rotary scholar who was heading to study in Poland. We quickly changed the format, and he and I simply sat in front of the club and had a discussion. And he had incredible observations about peace. The love and support for each other and for our American friends was profound. And it's times like these that you truly feel the impact of the family of Rotary. Over the past several months, these are the same kinds of moments that have played out across the globe over and over again. Our ability to look out for each other, to weep together, to pray together, and to protect each other, both physically and mentally. I'm sure that many of you have heard this quote from Maya Angelou. She said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." That is the family of Rotary. I guess what I'm saying is be that person. Be the kind of leader who is brave enough to say and do nice things for your members and their families. They will never forget how you made them feel. And the even greater reward, you will never forget how it made you feel. I want to spend the rest of my time with you talking about something near and dear to my heart, the creation of Rotary moments and Rotary's public image. It used to be that we were encouraged to do our good work quietly and not for recognition. It's really only been the past decade where telling our story has become one of our strategic initiatives. What we've learned is that when we tell our story, like-minded people want to join with us. It's actually one of our greatest membership tools. Who in this virtual room doesn't have an amazing Rotary story? Each and every one of you has experienced the joy of a Rotary moment. It's taking it that next step and understanding that when you share them, you can help to change people's lives. When the simple and the ordinary collide with intention, it can become extraordinary. Rotary provides each of us with a platform, and a powerful one, to help shape how people see our organization. So, what are the stories that you have to tell, and how can you share them? The best way I can express it is that you want to paint a story with your words. It's about putting forward the human face and making that emotional connection. Our lives are rich with content, and your own personal stories are a powerful way to connect with Rotarians. It's about stepping back and looking at situations in your life and appreciating the lessons they provide for you and for others. Then, it's about sharing them. Imagine if we could engage our 1.2 million members as the greatest storytellers of our organization's accomplishments. Everything that we do affects our image and our brand. Quite simply, our ability to tell our stories in a compelling way affects how our organization is perceived. A decade ago, I completed one of the biggest challenges of my life. My husband Nick and I climbed nearly 20,000 feet to reach the top of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. It was part personal challenge and part a Rotary fundraiser. It took 5 days to reach the summit. The first in lush forest, the second in thick brush, the third in low scrub, and the fourth day was like landing on the moon, craters and no sign of life. Now, let me explain to you, climbing Kilimanjaro is not a technical climb like Everest. The battle with Kili is altitude, and for me, it was a journey to the depths of positive thinking. By the time that we had arrived at base camp above 15,000 feet, 2 of our team members were exhibiting mild to medium signs of altitude sickness. It begged the question, should we really be doing this? The summit is attempted at midnight, and it takes somewhere between 6 to 7 hours. It's done at this time because the temperature drops to -20, and it freezes the ground so that you can get better traction. Each of the groups that attempts the climb is led by a team of guides, and this is a coveted job because of the precious tips that they receive. Now, this is where the story becomes very personal. As we set out that night with only a miner's light leading the way, I was torn whether to feel exhilarated by the opportunity or terrified by the fact that something could go wrong. It wouldn't be until we reached ground level that we would learn a guide from another team had died, and a 22-year-old man from England was in cardiac arrest. Our guides sang Christmas songs in Swahili, and the rhythm of their music helped to create a pace to our steps. Pole pole in Swahili means go slow, and it was the mantra of our climb. You see, the best way to ward off altitude sickness is to stay very well hydrated and to take time to adjust to each level by going slowly. Pole pole. I must confess that I entered into this climb perhaps a little too lightly and without the full appreciation of the dangers. I suppose I knew them, but I was excited by the adventure and most eager to reach the top of the African continent. It seemed like we had been climbing forever when our guide shared that we were only a quarter of a way to the top. It was also at this point that our water, even insulated, was frozen. It took everything in my being to stay focused and to put one foot in front of the other. Inside, I was questioning why was I on the side of a mountain, and I had to dig really deep to stay positive. I was ready to throw in the towel countless times, but to what end? There was really no easy way out. The last hour was the most difficult and required a lot of rock climbing. It was just as the sun was peaking above the horizon that we reached the top. The sky transitioned from a thick carpet of stars to an orange tapestry of color. I tell you this story because it's about climbing to great heights. And isn't Rotary a story we should be shouting from the top of a mountain? I also see this climb as a metaphor for life and about how we frame the things that are important to us. What are the stories in your own club, in your own district, that help to bring Rotary to life? As a global network of professional business and community volunteers, Rotary is a brand that unites the world. We simply have to climb the mountain and shout a little louder. Each one of you are ambassadors of our great message, and it begins daily by simply wearing your Rotary pin. We see now more than ever that clubs that have great public relations are clubs that are growing. Public relations actually is one of our best progressive tools for membership, both for recruitment and for retention. When we tell our story, like-minded people want to join with us. It makes it so much easier to ask someone to be part of Rotary when they're already aware of who we are and what we're doing. Likewise, there's such a sense of pride that's created within our ranks when we see our stories being told. Members feel good about what they're doing, and in turn, they're buoyed and want to continue doing more. It's a great way to keep our members engaged. If you have gleaned anything in the past few minutes, I hope it's that good public relations is about telling our stories. You may, however, still be asking, how do I do this when I'm not an expert? Well, the first thing you must realize is it's not your job alone. Good public relations is every member's obligation. We're all ambassadors of Rotary. So, how do we showcase what's valuable to us? Not long ago, I was in Chicago visiting my brother. We went shopping one afternoon, and the only thing I wanted to purchase was a gratitude journal. This was a trend a few years ago where you would write down 3 things a day that you were grateful for. The premise being that it would help to manifest the power of positive thinking. I thought this was a good thing. We were in a lovely little boutique when I found my book. Very quietly, I said to my husband, I said, Nick, this is my gratitude journal. I looked around a little bit more and then I went up to the counter to pay. I watched as the clerk went down to one end of the counter and took out this beautiful tissue paper and carefully wrapped the book. He then went to the other end of the counter where he found a blue box with gold lines all over the top. He came back to the middle and finished it off with an elaborate bow and then came forward and gave it to me. He said, I couldn't help but overhear what you said, that this is going to be your gratitude journal. He said, I want to be the first entry in your book. I want you to write that the man that sold this book to me made it an even more beautiful experience. He is indeed the first entry. So how do we showcase what's important to us? What's the packaging, the special ribbons that we wrap around Rotary to make it even more beautiful? We do it through public relations. We do it by telling our story. Rotary, a brand that brings the world together. And so, I carry his message of gratitude here today to say thank you. Thank you for all that you have done, and thank you for all that you are going to do. You have already been touched deeply by our organization, or you wouldn't be sitting here today. When we tell our stories, we're inspiring our clubs, recharging our batteries, and preparing for the year ahead. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for being such a vital part of Rotary International.
Wow, I told you you'd hear from 2 incredible ladies. That very inspiring. Thank you, Jorita, and thank you, Jennifer. Rotary's in good hands with those 2 powerhouses. I love the idea of searching for our why. And we're going to learn about the why here in just a minute, because as we introduce our foundation awards for this Rotary year, I feel like the really great way of setting the stage for this is to invite our district Rotary chair, Howard Svigals. Howard? Stay seated, but continue to give your virtual applause. You know, Howard is our district foundation chair, which means he monitors all and inspires all the foundation giving in District 5020. He's passionate. He's absolutely passionate about the Rotary Foundation and Polio Plus. And he was going to also tell us how a club gets an average for their members giving based on what they give to TRF, the Rotary Foundation, okay? A lot of times we think it includes Polio Plus giving, but it does not. And I'll tell you what, Lakewood Rotary, Greg's club, has traditionally, right? Traditionally been in District 5020, a really top performer, if not the top performer.
That and Gateway with Tom Carroll.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, $1 million can go a long ways. Okay. But I'm going to ask you this, Howard. It's not that way this year, is it, right?
No, it's not.
Because the Gig Harbor Club.
Gig Harbor Midday Club.
Gig Harbor Midday Club, which is your home club, has surpassed everyone in average membership giving. And it's not just because the average member in Gateway Club, or not Gateway, Midday Club has increased their giving to do that. Howard, you influenced that by making a ginormous gift.
Well, thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that. And probably as sort of Jamie mentioned, and no surprise to you as the district foundation chair, the Rotary Foundation is a charity of choice for me. It's something I very much support, something I very much see. In my role as working with the grants and the work that's being done, I can see the good in the world that we do. Dorita and also, we also very much talked about all the different good things that we've done in the world. So I clearly wanted to walk the talk, and by making a sizable contribution to the annual fund. This is the fund that feeds our district grants in 3 years. The money stays in the Rotary Foundation for 3 years and earns on it, and then that pays for a sizable part of the admin. But in 3 years later, it comes back to us in a district in our ability to use district grants or to do our contribution to global grants. Well, I was lucky enough to make a windfall in the stock market. I didn't invest in Zoom, but I invested instead in Tesla. And Tesla, at the time I purchased it back about March of the fall of the stock market, it was about an equivalent of a $50 share, which has been split on a split adjusted basis. And so in less than a year, it climbed over $800 a share. Wow. And at that time, I decided that I wanted to share some of this good fortune with the Rotary Foundation. So I contributed some of the shares that I purchased, and actually not all of them, and I was able to avoid the capital gains by giving the shares directly to it. So it's whether so this money will then come back to us through the annual fund in the shared thing. Whether it's global grants, district grants, or clubs do or whatever, it's all what we do with those funds. And I encourage everyone else to contribute also to what they could. It was a total fortune, a total windfall in my mind, and I wanted to share that with it.
So a gift of an appreciated asset.
Yeah, so you don't pay any of the gain on it. You get a deduction for the total amount. So almost $800 a share.
Wow.
It was just short of that when I sold it. And otherwise I would have had to pay the difference between 50 and 800 is a taxable gain.
So Howard, you have demonstrated for years your passion for the Rotary Foundation and for Polio Plus giving under your leadership. We've also started the Polio Plus Society and things like that. District 5020 is recognized on a regular basis as a top giver in our zone and the world. What inspires you to really continue to have this passion for the Rotary Foundation?
Well, it's probably my why. It's my why in seeing what's been done, what the grants we do. And right now in my role, I actually approve all the grants going out, and I see the reports coming back in the grants, and I see the clubs and talk to the clubs about the grants they've done, whether it's in a different country or whether it's in their own local community. We do some very wonderful things, and because of the foundation, clubs can get great leverage. We have matching grants, so if they spend $7,000, they get back $3,500 of it, and it's just much greater than they can do on their own by using the foundation for these things.
Okay, Howard, you've provided some great information about the Rotary Foundation. You've inspired us with your own personal contribution and how to do that. If you were going to give us a message to invite us to participate, what would that message be?
So, it's important. We have a thing every Rotarian every year. And my club, besides my big one, every member of my club contributes at least $25. And that's something we ask all Rotarians in all places. We're not, not everyone has the luck that I had in making a windfall, but giving something to the foundation is very, very important. And continue to give to polio. We've heard about how very, very close we are to eradicating polio, but we need to go 3 years of no cases before we can determine that polio is gone for good. So we are going to continue to need funds. In fact, we as Rotarians make a commitment to raise $50 million every year, and then we receive a $100 million match from the Gates Foundation. So we need to continue doing that fight for the polio and ending polio. We're very, very close. Our work is doing it, and we've got some very good things going on. So it's
what's the latest polio report?
The report was mentioned earlier. There's been only 2 cases this year, both back in January, one in Afghanistan and one in Pakistan. There's not been another case now. Last year at this time, we had about 60 cases in the world. So we've come down sizably. Even better news is that one of the things that we have is we have a surveillance system where we look actually mostly in the sewage of these places to see whether or not the polio is there, because polio can live also.
Careful, Howard, it's dinner time.
Polio can also live in the sewage system. And so they've looked at that. They've not seen any cases of it. just a small tidbit, the lessons we learned from polio have helped in the COVID fight. In fact, this thing of surveillance in the sewage system has been very useful in the fight against COVID. In fact, at the University of Washington and their dorms there, they were surveilling the sewage coming out of it, and they detected cases of COVID before there were any symptoms in a particular dorm because of what they did on the surveillance. And that was all learned because of the work that we've done with polio.
I will tell you, as a proud Cougar from Washington State University, the last thing that I want to be is interested in the sewage at the University of Washington. Howard, thank you. Thank you. Put your virtual hands together again for Howard Spigals.
Thank you.
Absolutely showing a passion for the Rotary Foundation and for Polio Plus. He walks the talk. His personal and financial commitment to those organizations, which are consistently ranked in the top 5 in the world as far as nonprofits by Charity Navigator, which is a nonprofit third party that grades those things, and your willingness to participate at a huge level and share your generosity. So thank you.
So please contact me if I can answer any questions. Although you can't ask me about stock tips because that I won't get you out. But otherwise, that or anything or a presentation to your club on the foundation, we're happy to help that. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay. Hey, with that, we're going to move on to the awards. And I've got District Governor Greg Horn.
Well, the district conference is really a celebration of the Rotary Club's successes throughout the year. And a lot of them are measurable. So I'd like to honor some of the Rotary Clubs now with some special awards that they've very, very well earned. So, Corey, would you start the awards? Okay, as of April 30th, District 5020 has donated $1,002,005 to the Rotary Foundation, placing our district 29th in the world for total foundation giving. Way to go, 5020.
Read those.
Yeah, I need somebody with some better eyes. Yeah, but I know these numbers. The foundation annual fund contributions per capita. The 3 top clubs in the district, and thank you, Howard, because you really gave your club a boost. Gig Harbor Midday Rotary with an average.
No. I think you need to start with number 3.
Oh, okay.
Oak Bay Rotary at $471.01 per member. That's
per member.
That's
their average.
But Gateway Rotary right here in Thurston County, $525.
They do quite well, also, don't
Amazing.
they?
$525. Yeah. Number 1.
Gig Harbor Midday Rotary,
also called the Tesla Club, $3,488.57 per member.
That's an annual fund contributions per capita. Thank you to all of the clubs. Now, the Rotary Foundation annual fund clubs with 100% giving. That means every member of the club is given at least something. $25. Hawks Prairie Rotary, Lacey, Washington. Go Hawks Prairie. And Sequim Rotary in Sequim. Thank you, Sequim Rotary. And the Rotary Foundation clubs with 100% giving. Once again, Hawks Prairie Rotary, Lacey, and Sequim Rotary, Sequim. Thank you, both those clubs. Now, Polio Plus certificates. These are clubs giving greater than the $1,500 US. Thank you to all of these clubs. Bainbridge Island, Campbell River Daybreak, Clover Park, Comox Valley, Courtenay, Cumberland Centennial, Downtown Victoria, Duncan Daybreak, East Bremerton, the E Club of District 5020, Gateway, Gig Harbor, Kingston North Kitsap, Lakewood, Longview, Nanaimo Daybreak, Oak Bay, Olympia, Parksville, AM, Port Orchard, Paulsbo North Kitsap, Puyallup South Hill, Qualicum Beach, Sequim Sunrise, Shelton, Souk, South Cowichan, South Puget Sound, Tacoma North, Tacoma Sunrise, Tacoma 8, Twin Cities, University Place Fircrest, Victoria, Victoria Harborside, and West Olympia. Thank you very much for your contributions to help us get polio eradicated in the entire world. Thank you. Yeah, there's more coming, okay? And then there's a slide in here on District 5020 fundraising analysis so far. And every club in the district is given something. So thank you. There are no non-giving clubs. Thank you for your awesome support of the Rotary Foundation. So membership awards. We've done well in membership. And I'll thank Marilyn Hoppin a little bit later, but I am so proud. I've got to brag a little bit here. We are one of 2 districts in the zone out of 14 that have membership net numbers above our July 1st start. We have done well. So thank you everybody who's done so much work on membership. So absolute membership growth. These are net numbers. Clubs with up to 40 members. Comox Valley Rotary brought in 11 new members. Wow, thank you. Medium-sized clubs. Clubs with 41 to 70 members. Twin City Rotary with 11 new members. Great, thank you. And the bigger clubs, clubs with over 70 new members. Lakewood Rotary with 9 new members. Wow, way to go, thank you. District 5020 clubs recognized for membership retention over the past 5 years. Clubs with up to 40 members. This is club membership retention. Saanich Rotary with a retention rate of 89.5%. Thank you, Saanich. Medium-sized clubs, 41 to 70 members. Port Angeles Nor'Wester Rotary, 82.8%. And clubs with more than 70 members, Gig Harbor Rotary, 81.6%. Again, a round of applause, thank you. Now, District 5020 clubs with sustained membership growth over the past 5 years. Bainbridge Island, Brentwood Bay, Campbell River, Duncan Daybreak, Gateway Thurston County, Gig Harbor North, Hoquiam, Longview, Nanaimo Daybreak, Nanaimo Oceanside, Parksville AM, Port Angeles, Port Hardy, and Port McNeil. Oh, there's some more. Port Orchard, Puyallup, South Hill, Qualicum Beach, Salt Spring Island Ganges, Squid Sunrise, Sydney, South Kitsap, Sumner, Tacoma Sunset, Twin Cities, Victoria Harborside, West Shore Victoria, Woodland, and Yelm. Thank you very much. You guys are to be congratulated. District Conference Literacy Awards. Literacy is a big part of what we do. And we try so hard to help people get up to speed in their learning because it can make a lifelong difference. District 5020 clubs that are recognized for more than 5 literacy projects. Tacoma 8 Rotary, Olympia Rotary, Gateway Thurston County Rotary, Tacoma Sunrise Rotary, Souk Rotary, and Courtenay Rotary. Thank you. District 5020 clubs participating in the Dolly Parton Imagination Library program. I just call it DPIL. What a fabulous program. In Area 2, we have Cumberland Centennial Rotary. In Area 5, we have Duncan Rotary. Area 8, Port Townsend Rotary. Area 15, Aberdeen Rotary and Hoquiam Rotary. And Area 16, every club in the area is in here on this program. Longview Rotary, Longview Early Edition Rotary, Kelso Rotary, Woodland Rotary, Centralia Rotary, Chehalis Rotary, and Twin Cities Rotary. I'm a big supporter of the DPIL, Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Thank you, clubs, for your support of this. District 5020 clubs participating in the 1,000 times 5 Children's Book Project. Area 6, Oak Bay Rotary, West Shore Rotary, Rotaract of Victoria, and Victoria Rotary. And Area 7, Downtown Victoria, Victoria Harborside Rotary, and Sydney by the Sea Rotary. You are certainly making a difference. Thank you. Okay, district conference, special recognition. I've got some special awards to talk about. There are clubs with more than 50 years of service, so I'd like to recognize those clubs in our area. Happy anniversary, Sumner Rotary, 95 years old. Longview Rotary, 95 years old. Courtenay Rotary, 85 years old. Bremerton Rotary, 80 years old. Campbell River Rotary, 75 years. Sydney Rotary, 75 years. Shelton Rotary, 70 years. Tumwater Rotary, 70 years. And Lakewood Rotary, congratulations, you made it 65 years. That's a lot of business, you guys. Thank you. Now, District 5020 clubs celebrating 100 years of service. Rotary is about 116 years old, and there are some clubs that came in very early. And congratulations to these clubs that turned 100 years old this year. Olympia Rotary, who chartered in 1920. Chehalis Rotary, chartered in 1921. And Port Angeles Noon Rotary, also chartered in 1921. Happy birthday, happy 100 years. Now, there are a special award, and this is a zone award. You know, we all jumped into the arena of Zoom this year, and many clubs struggled at the beginning, and some clubs just made it up and did great. And I was asked to give some input on some of the clubs that I thought did it best. And I visited every club multiple times on Zoom, and they asked for one award per district. Well, we happen to be the biggest district in the zone, and I was really torn because I thought two clubs did such an outstanding job on Zoom. So the first person I'd like to recognize is Camilla Brocker, president of the Rotary Club of Gig Harbor. And I've got to tell you something. Because of Zoom, Camilla was able to run her big Rotary Club, approximately 120 members, effortlessly from Pennsylvania all year long. She just came back to the state a couple of weeks ago, but because of Zoom, she's had a very successful year. And this is one of the two clubs that I recommend. If you want to see a Zoom meeting done right, go to gigharborrotary.org and sit in on one of their meetings. And the next one is Nick Johnson. He led the Rotary Club of Paulsbo into some very, very great Zoom meetings. So I'm proud to present a special recognition to those clubs in our district. Thank you, Nick and Camilla. You guys really made it happen. That's it for the awards. I am just happy to be able to recognize all of the clubs that have done so well under these tough circumstances. Thank you.
Greg, thank you. You know, I probably should let you introduce this next person because he comes to us because of an incredible recommendation from you.
Well, he does.
Because you see, 13 years ago, in March of 2008, remember Greg was talking about his experience at PETS? Well, Tom Ristamaki, as a young presenter at PETS, so impressed our DG Greg Horn that DG Greg just knew that this young man was going to continue to grow and have an incredible Rotary story to
But
tell.
I wasn't DG. I was a president-elect.
Yes.
I was just there taking it all in.
But you are DG Horn right now.
Oh, I am. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me do this.
Okay.
Okay.
You do your job.
So Tom Ristamaki, he is a former Rotary Youth Exchange student, a former RILA recipient, a former Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar, and a Canadian Commonwealth Scholar to the UK. He has a PhD in linguistics, so he probably recognizes that English is my second language. And he's deeply curious about how other people see the world. Now, books are great, but Tom says he learns best through direct experience. So he has lived in multiple monasteries and meditation centers. He's walked across Spain on the Camino de Santiago and completed 3 weeks of intensive mental toughness training led by retired U.S. Navy SEALs, among other things. So without further introduction, District 5020 Rotarians and guests, please provide a wildly enthusiastic virtual welcome for our experiential guest, Mr. Tom Ristamaki.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to join your conference and speak with you tonight. My name's Tom, and I inspire people to explore new possibilities. There's a lot that I'm excited to share with you tonight, but I'd like you to know right off the top that my talk tonight actually isn't about me. I'm going to tell some stories to try to keep it interesting, but I'm just one example of a life that's been transformed through Rotary. And that's what I really want to highlight. I want to echo what your previous speakers tonight have said and give you sort of my personal twist on how that works. What does it mean to lead by example, for example? So first, a little bit of background for those of you that we haven't met yet. I grew up in a small town in Canada called Kimberley, British Columbia. It's over in the Rocky Mountains, just north of Idaho. A very small, beautiful place. There's a nice ski hill, lots of golf courses, one traffic light, one high school, and fortunately for me, a Rotary Club. So I grew up here, and as a kid, I used to play in Rotary Park. I'd ride my bike down Rotary Drive. There was a nice waterfall nearby that we liked to swim in, and I'd always see the Rotary logo there. But I didn't have any idea what Rotary was. And actually, my parents and my teachers didn't really seem to know either. And that all changed when I was in high school, and I had the opportunity to become a Rotary Youth Exchange student. And I mean, to say that it was life-changing is a complete understatement. And I'm sure you've heard that before from multiple students who've come back to speak at your clubs. But I grew up in this small town in Canada, and I had the chance to go to northern Japan for a year and live with 3 wonderful host families, put on a school uniform and go to high school every day. The catch was that I didn't speak any Japanese when I went. And so I went from being a fairly confident teenager. I was 16 at the time, 17, I guess. And suddenly I was an infant again. I was immersed in this completely foreign culture. I didn't know any of the rules. I was completely illiterate. And so I was really dependent on my host families to take care of me and to help me integrate in this new society. And part of the reason that I'd chosen Japan was because I thought it would be the most different. So, I thought, okay, if I can handle living there for a year, then after that, I could probably go anywhere else in the world I want, and it'll be okay. That was my theory anyway. So in my time in Japan, I went to high school. I trained in martial arts. I attended Rotary Club meetings in Japan. And then I came back and went back to high school. And, and after that, the following year, I had the opportunity to go to RILA, which was also a really transformational experience. By the time I came back from Japan, I was was fluent in Japanese, more or less. I was dreaming in Japanese by that point, and I didn't want to come home at all. And I just saw the world in a completely different way, which sounds great. You know, it sounds like, oh yeah, that's what we want. We want our young people to have a global perspective, but it's actually tremendously challenging. And that's something that as adults, people often forget. You know, being a teenager is hard in general, anywhere. But then you take a teenager and you send them to another country. Like moving to another country, moving to another town is hard. Moving to another family is hard. Learning a new language is hard. You stack all those things together, and that's a youth exchange student. And then I came back to RYLA, finished grade 12, did RYLA, and once again was introduced to all this stuff from Rotary. So we did sessions on awareness of self and others, ethics in your business and professional life, the 4-way test, you know, how to chair a meeting, how to give a presentation, all these, you know, and really they were planting these seeds of service. And if you talk to someone right after those experiences, it's very difficult to articulate. And it's very exciting and inspiring when you're young. You know, that was obviously the best year of my life. But you can't put into words the value of that. And you can't really predict the value of that. So what I'd really like to focus on is what happens after. You know, I spent 1 year in Japan, and then I spent the next 5 to 7 years trying to make sense of that experience. And when you look at the Rotary Foundation website, for example, they'll say really nice things like that the foundation supports these programs to foster world peace and intercultural understanding, and that the young people of today will become the leaders of tomorrow. And that sounds great on a website, but what does that actually look like when you embody it? So just to sort of illustrate that, I'd like to tell you about 2 guys, both from the same small town. You know, just as an example of the direction your life can take after high school. So for example, you have one person who had straight A's in high school, came out with multiple university scholarships, was progressively employed with increasing responsibility and increasing leadership roles, ended up completing university with the highest GPA in his faculty, and then went on to do a fully funded master's degree and a fully funded doctorate. And then went on to pursue a successful career by, you know, many standards. On the other hand, you know, from the same small town, the same high school, you could have someone who skipped most of their classes in grade 12 and then was, you know, constantly questioning authority and questioning their family values, sort of rocking the boat at every opportunity, but in a really genuine way. Went to university on a scholarship, but then dropped out after 1.5 years. Sort of, you know, was after that was unemployed for years at a time and had no real career ambition, not anything that they could articulate in any way. Was frequently homeless, you know, drifting around from place to place, sleeping in a car occasionally, really heavily dependent on the generosity of others, couch surfing, that kind of thing. Now, you know, if you had to guess, which one of those 2 students is the former youth exchange student? Which one of those is the one that got to go to RYLA and was exposed to Rotary? Because the truth is, like, everything in those lists is true, but both of them apply to me. So, you know, when you talk about young people becoming the leaders of tomorrow, it's not in any way a clear and straight or easy path. It's all mixed up and complicated. And the reason for that is really genuine. You know, I had met hundreds of genuinely inspiring people through visiting Rotary clubs and meeting Rotarians. I'd met people from, you know, farmers to fighter pilots and business owners and professionals in various fields that were all united by these shared values that weren't religious and they weren't political. They were just very genuinely human and service oriented and doing incredible things in the world. And the trouble for me is that after being exposed to that, I really wanted to live it genuinely. And so, yeah, I finished high school and I went off to university, but I dropped out after a year and a half because I had no idea why I was there. And the whole thing felt completely self-centered and selfish to me. So I dropped out of university in order to do full-time volunteer work. And I did full-time volunteer work throughout Canada for the next 2 years. I worked in schools and nursing homes. I lived on farms. I went and lived in multiple monasteries. So a Hindu ashram where they practiced yoga every day and meditation, a Christian monastery, and then a Tibetan Buddhist monastery after that. I led wilderness canoe trips. And I also went back to Japan to reconnect with my former host families and revisit that culture, make sure I hadn't forgotten the language. And all of that was my attempt to deal with the confusion and the big questions that were in my head. How do I integrate these ideas of service into my life? Ultimately, I did end up going back to university. But then by that point, I had a clear idea of what I wanted to go deeper into. So I ended up focusing on linguistics, which is the scientific study of language, because that actually gave me the tools to make sense of my previous experiences, to understand the connection between language and worldview and how we can influence the way other people see the world. So I completed my master's. I went on to do a PhD, which was also supported by Rotary. And while I was working on my PhD, I was exploring possibility and empowerment. So really going deeply into how do people decide what they can do and what they can't do? And if there's something that you think is impossible, but I know you can do it, then how can I challenge or change those beliefs in a positive way to empower you to do things that you know you want to do, you just don't think you can. And all of this, the roots of that are in my experience with Rotary. The seeds of my PhD were there when I went to Ryla, for example, or when I was roaming around homeless as a dirtbag trying to figure life out. It was me trying to make sense of these same questions. And as a result of these experiences, I've had the opportunity to see Rotary beyond the club level. I'm tremendously grateful to my home Rotary Club and to my home district, of course, but I've also been to Rotary clubs, multiple Rotary clubs in the US and Canada, up as far north as Alaska, multiple Rotary clubs throughout Australia and Europe. In addition, not to mention Japan and the UK, of course. So, what else was going on when I was, we mentioned in the intro that I prefer to learn experientially. And this was this continuous process of trying to determine, well, who am I going to turn myself into? And how can I find more and more meaningful ways to serve? And that is a direct result of the Rotarians that I've met. I did eventually sort of work my way into leadership roles. I ended up developing what some people might consider a successful career in international education. So after my doctorate, I didn't want to just study and do research. I wanted to apply the research. So I did a bunch of public speaking. And when I came home to my hometown, Kimberley, I immediately got involved with their international student program in the public school. And so that was, it wasn't, I'll be the first to say, the Rotary Exchange program is the best one in the world. The best we could hope to do would be second best. And so I was actively involved in enhancing the international student program and creating these opportunities that had been so life-changing, because not everyone can go through a Rotary Club. So we were bringing international students into Canada, and we were also taking local Canadian students out. I personally created opportunities and brought groups of students from Canada to China and to Japan. And I've also continued to speak at RILA as a guest speaker and just continually find ways to empower not just young people, but people of any age, families, to question these ideas of what's possible, because I know that they've got these really warm-hearted intentions and these great ideas, and often they're just being held back by self-limiting beliefs. So even though, you know, Rotary took a chance and invested in me as a 17-year-old kid, the return on that investment isn't just what I've been doing with my life, but there's a ripple effect that continues outward. Because, you know, I've taken these, for just one example, you know, I took a group of students from Canada to China. And now, a few years later, one of those students has contacted me for a reference because she's going to med school and she's becoming a doctor. I've had other students contact me that have heard some of these stories and then have gone off to do their own crazy adventures. You know, they've done fundraising and built a school in Nepal, and others volunteered in an orphanage, and others dropped out of school to become professional longboarders. All of which, you know, might scare you if you're a parent or a grandparent and you're looking at one of these young people that are in that sort of chaotic period of adjustment and self-discovery. But I just want to reassure you that that confusion and turmoil is a really positive sign of personal growth, because they're not just following along with the social norms and expectations. They're actually grappling with the questions, and they're actually trying to figure out, well, who am I and what do I have to offer? How can I contribute to the world? And so, you know, in addition to the Rotarians, I've met Rotary alumni all over the world, former ambassadorial scholars and peace scholars, former youth exchange students, and many of them are Rotarians now. But even the ones that aren't they still embody these values, and they demonstrate them in their leadership and in their professional lives and their families. So part of why I continue to, you know, and it hasn't gotten any easier, I'll tell you right now. You know, I'm in a leadership role now. I work for a private international education company called Purcell International Education. Technically, I'm the vice president and director of student services. So a big part of my role is focused on the student experience and supporting the students and trying to enhance everything they can get out of the experience of being in Canada. And we're working on a major project right now, which is we're actually developing and building a brand new international boarding school that we want to build in Kimberley, this beautiful small town where I'm from. And that'll bring in more students from all over the world. And a big part of my role is trying to envision and create that space and create these opportunities, not just for the kids who are coming, but also to make it a hub in my local community that will support this community and create new opportunities for all the local kids and the local families that are here. But it doesn't ever get, it's still not clear. I'm still struggling with the same big questions, and I still feel lost half the time. I just keep stumbling forward and doing my best to live up, to live my life in a way that justifies your investment in me. And to embody these values, which are not abstract anymore. They're my values now. And so, you know, on that note, I guess just to tie it in with the theme of these crazy COVID adventures, we're building, our main focus is to build this international boarding school. That's the project. That's what I'm meant to work on. But as a result of COVID and all these changes in the world and the way things have unfolded, what we actually ended up doing was buying an entire golf course, which meant for a year, I was helping to set up and run a golf course, which included a fully functional restaurant and a pro shop. And then we also opened and started running a daycare. And all of those were offshoots of the original school project, but they emerged out of that project because we kept asking ourselves, well, how can we increase our positive impact on the community? You know, we were looking for land to build a school. And then they said, well, why don't you buy the whole golf course? And that gave us an opportunity to become stewards of that land and make sure that it survived into the future as a community resource. Because otherwise it would have gone out of business during COVID. It would have totally wiped it out. But it's still alive. And then we also opened a daycare because we saw the demand for daycare and we wanted to explore opportunities to meet that demand and also subsidize it through international education to make it more affordable. So all of these things continue to ripple. And as I said before, I'm just one example. I'm just one person. You guys through Rotary have literally done this with, I would say, hundreds of thousands of young people. And they're all out there in the world, and not all of them get to tell you their story. But I assure you, they're out there and they're doing great things in the world. And so on behalf of all of them, on behalf of all the former exchange students, all the former Peace Scholars and Ambassadorial Scholars, I just like to say thank you very much. And please continue to support the foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. You know, listening to you, to me, was like looking into a crystal ball. And I say this so sincerely, because 13 years ago, I was at Pacific Northwest Pets for the first time. And I was just in awe of everything I learned and the 6 speakers that they had brought in up on stage and told their story. And you were up there with the likes of Cliff Docterman and Rick King. I don't remember the others, but I did remember you. And I thought, my goodness, you had such an amazing background story up until that point. I wondered where you were going to go. Well, let's fast forward 12 years. You've done some amazing things with your life. Now, I'm not a stalker, but I tell you, over the years, I have Googled you a few times, just out of curiosity to wonder what you were doing. And if anybody is watching this, you can Google Tom Ristimaki, Ristimaki, or if you can't spell it, Google Possibility Tom, okay? He's got an amazing story and he's fascinating with all of the things that he's accomplished over the last 13 years. Well, this year, somehow I became district governor, and one of my jobs is to select some speakers for the district conference. You absolutely were my first choice because I wondered where you were going with the start you got. So tonight's story, thank you. It's like looking into a crystal ball 13 years ago to see where you wound up. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Well, next we have a little thank you to the outgoing district council. And the district council, as I said earlier, is about 35 members that operates for one purpose only, and that is to serve the district and to make the district able to serve the clubs, all the clubs, to be the best Rotary clubs they can be. And I've thoroughly enjoyed my time on the council, and I know that we've got some people leaving the council. So I'd like to bring them up and thank them one at a time. And the first on the list is immediate past district governor, Mo Fitzroberts. Mo, you've had an amazing journey and I admired you last year as your governor. You had some challenges. You were at the beginning of COVID, but you were just so graceful in leading the district. So there's a few descriptors, and I'm sorry I can't read them all from my vantage point here. My eyes can't quite see them, and they don't work as well with my
let me help you
temporary glasses. Okay, why don't you read this?
How about the Energizer Bunny?
Yeah, that's one of them.
How about dedicated?
Dedicated, she certainly is.
And she's passionate.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And she's certainly gracious.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. And you know what? She's always smiling.
Oh, she is. I've never seen her not smiling.
All right.
Thank you, past district governor Mo. You're going to be off the district council in about a couple of weeks. And then Wayne Anderson, Area 1 assistant governor and a member of Nanaimo Rotary.
He's a diplomatic demeanor.
He has that. He does. How did you know?
I know.
He's got diplomatic
He's
demeanor.
very detail oriented.
He is. I know that. Yeah.
And he's very supportive.
I see that.
Yeah.
Well, almost. It's a little blurry.
A passionate community server.
Yes, he is.
Yes. And
a valuable friend. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you for your 3 years of service on the council and your years of service to your area clubs. Thank you. Katie Cord, Assistant Governor, Area 6. Imaginative.
Yes, and courageous.
And courageous, that's right.
Yeah.
And a problem solver.
Yes.
I can read that one.
Yes, and flexible.
Yeah, and a dedicated mother. You know what? Family is important. Family must always come first. Thank you for your years of service as Assistant Governor. Thank you, Katie. And Murray Tuff. Boy, he's one of the toughest guys I've ever seen.
He rode his bike like across Canada.
Well, a couple of years ago, to get to Pacific Northwest Pets, he rode it from Victoria in the rain.
I remember that.
In February down to SeaTac. He did take a ferry.
But surprisingly, he's approachable.
Yeah, he is. And he rode all across Canada oh my God, he's a tough guy.
He has a calm manner.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. He's practical.
And thoughtful.
And he's a gracious mentor.
He absolutely is. His clubs are lucky to have him. Thank you, Murray. Thank you. Jerry Letexier, former Navy diver. Man, you're a water guy just like me. I love the water. You love the water. But you've done something amazing, Jerry. You took your position after the Navy and built it into a thriving business, but you still found time to serve the community by being an assistant governor. Thank you.
He's sincere.
He is very sincere.
He's motivational.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? He always makes time to help.
I know that.
He does do that.
I served with Jerry.
He's a fun-loving guy.
Yeah. And he's honest. Thank you for your years of service.
And your military experience.
And your military experience. Oh, this next guy, what a fun, this picture says it all. What a fun-loving guy. He's like Mo. He's always smiling. I got a nickname for him. He's the Wrangler. And I tell you, last year, Jamie, you and I were going to go to the Puyallup Fair together, and you were going to show me everything about the rodeo. And then COVID shut it down. But I thought, no worries.
This year.
We're going to go down to Pendleton for the Pendleton Roundup. That didn't happen either. But this year, Puyallup Fair, I hope. Okay. So what are your descriptors? Oh, charismatic, I can read that. Entertaining, quick-witted, silver-tongued. Whoa.
Good speller.
And and a great leader. You know what? Thank you for your service to the district. And I'll talk a little more about you later. Thank you. Bill McGregor, Lacey Rotary, what an awesome assistant governor. Been a tremendous help to me all year long, as have all of my assistant governors. I am so grateful to have a team like you.
You know, he's the port commissioner.
I know it. I know it.
And his replacement is AG?
Yeah, is a port commissioner.
No, is the port director.
Oh,
yeah. So we introduced him a couple of weeks ago, the new AG.
Okay.
As a former port director.
Oh,
and he was really panicky because he thought Bill McGregor had pulled some strings.
Yeah.
Freed up some time for him to be an AG.
No, I know
Genuine,
that.
thoughtful. He's charitable, active community supporter, very compassionate.
Yep.
Bill McGregor.
Bill, thank you. Thank you for your service. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
What a man. This guy does everything. Generous with his time, talents, and money. Innovative. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. Supportive. Absolutely a deep thinker, comes up with some great ideas, and I'll mention that in a little bit. Caleb, thank you very much. You've just done a wonderful job. And there's a few more things that I'm not going to mention, but I'll catch up with them later. And Corey Laparty. Corey is such a talented filmmaker. He shot the video for us at Great Wolf Lodge. Confident, very confident. Got a servant heart. He's creative and thoughtful and determined, and a wonderful person. The two people really, really behind the scenes tonight making this happen are Corey and Caleb. Thank you very much. Youth Services Chair, Michelle Doyle from Paulsville Rotary. Thank you. You've just been such an awesome person helping them with the important part of youth services. And it's just not one thing. It is many things that fit under that umbrella. So Michelle, generous spirit, a ready smile, boundless energy, can-do attitude, and truly a true friend. Thank you, Michelle, for all you've done for the youth programs in our district. And what can I say about the one that supports me the most? When you become district governor, you have the opportunity to name somebody chief of staff. Little did I realize how much I would be counting on Mary Horn. She's a member of Lakewood Rotary. She went down to the Zone Leadership Institute a number of years ago with me and came back and says, are you going to ask me to join Rotary or do I have to ask somebody else? Yeah, I asked her to marry me, but I forgot to ask her to join Rotary. And she's been a wonderful, wonderful supporting spouse, but also deeply involved at the club level and now at the district level. The descriptors I'm reading: pragmatic, generous, authentic, helpful, and kind-hearted, and a great teacher too. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Well, this winds up the thank yous for the outgoing people on the district council. Mary, come on up. We have a little something here.
For the Queen Bee, the Chief of Staff. Rose. The flower represents you, the thorns represent grit.
I thought it was a thorn between two.
That's right.
Thank you for everything you've done.
Sure.
Thank you, everybody. So we're going to go on.
Go ahead.
Next thing. We've got a few thank yous also, because there are so many people in this organization that help it be the success that it is. I'm going to start with the 93 people out there that are club presidents this year. 91 club presidents of your Rotary clubs and 2 club presidents of your Rotaract clubs. This is kind of a different deal that you got this year that you thought you were going to get into when you got into the line of becoming a club president. Nobody dreamed what we'd be going through. And yet every one of you have stepped up and made this thing happen this year. You've been absolutely energetic. If you've had questions, you've either come to the assistant governor or come to me trying to do the best job you could for your club. And I'm so blessed to have been working with all 93 of you. So club presidents, thank you. The second group I'd like to personally thank is all 18 of my assistant governors, because you guys are the people on the ground communicating with the clubs, talking on my behalf. You've all done an absolutely astounding job, outstanding job, and astounding. So thank you, assistant governors. I really, really think this is the best job in all of Rotary. So anybody you out there listening, thinking you might want to get on the district council in the future, assistant governor is a great way to do it. And then the third is all of the rest of the district council members. I hope I didn't leave anybody off. I can't take time to thank all 35 people, but what an awesome group of leaders we have. Thank you. Then there are a few other people deserving a little bit extra recognition. And the first person on my list is not just one person, it's a pair, Marnie and Jerry Obendorf. Marnie is director of training, and boy, what a job she did. A year ago, she moved training from in-person training into the virtual world in a matter of about 8 weeks and put on an absolutely outstanding training session where nothing had ever been done like that before. This year, with a year of experience behind her, replicated it again, did another great training session. And you do so much more to help me out, to try to keep me on task. Thank you, Marnie and Jerry. Now I said earlier that our membership is up slightly. We're above our starting numbers last July 1st. Thank you, Marilyn Hoppin. You've been great as the membership chair. We're one of only 2 districts in the zone with positive numbers. Everybody's had a very slight decline, but I'm so proud that we're up. Thank you for all you've done, Marilyn. And then a person that was up here a little bit earlier, Howard Svagals. Tireless work for the foundation, a true supporter of the foundation. And Howard has a counterpart because he's pretty much strapped to the land down here south of the waterway that separates us, the Strait of Juan de Fuca. So he's got a counterpart up in Canada that's been doing just a wonderful job. Thank you, Craig Gillis, because you have really been helping with the foundation on the island. The foundation is truly the engine that runs Rotary, that makes it go. And there's one other person that has put so much into it this year, a member of my own club, Bob Zawilski. I think I'm the only person in the district that pronounces his name right, Bob Zawilski. But you know, your tireless work managing the district grants and the global grants, it is a spectacular job and you've done so well. Thank you for your tireless work. And then I mentioned Corey a minute ago. I got to mention him again. For technical assistance, Corey Laparty. For filming the Great Wolf video that was so fun to make. We didn't get to have the conference, but it's still a fun video. Co-chair of this conference. It was going to be a 2-day celebration. Instead, it's about a 3-hour celebration, but a lot of work went into it. Corey has also picked up a few other duties along the way. He's called the ARC, A-R-C. He's the Assistant Rotary Coordinator for Zone 27. That's a job above the district level. And he's part of the Big West New Club Task Force. You've just jumped at so many opportunities to grow. Thank you, Corey. You've done a great job. And then one other person, Caleb, you've always been there for me. I've called you all hours of the day. I think I even called you once in the middle of the night. Caleb wanted to make a difference in Rotary, and he thought he wanted to be assistant governor. And I explained that, yeah, that's a good way to help out, but there might be another place that would be a better fit, PI chair. And as soon as I explained what he could be doing, he said, yeah, that sounds like a fun gig. So we named him PI chair, and he has jumped in with both feet. The first thing he did is he conceived of this fabulous news magazine that he's put out, 11 issues every year. No other district in the world, I don't think, has anything like what we do. The UD 5020, strange name, it stands for Unite District 5020. And I just love every issue that comes out. You do such a great job. You also did the district directory this year. I think the best that's ever been done. And you're the district conference co-chair. And the Pacific Northwest Pets found out about Caleb's talents and made him the chief communication officer, I believe. And then the zone found out about him, and he's got a big gig at the zone. And he's in line to be district governor in a couple of years. So Caleb, thank you. Thank you. Well, 2 more people. Jamie Gregory. I was meeting with district governor-elects a couple of years ago and district governors, and I found out a few of them had created a new position called executive assistant governor. So I asked them what that entailed, and they said, well, they get paid twice as much. Well, since the pay is 0, twice 0 is still 0, but they play an extremely important role. And I called on my friend, Jamie Gregory, a man of many talents and a silver tongue. I said, would you consider the role of being the executive assistant governor? And he hemmed and hawed a little bit, but I twisted his arm, and Jamie, you were just such an important part. I want you to come up here, and Mary, you come up here too. because the last thing I've got to talk about is Mary, my chief of staff. Being district governor, you get an incredible number of emails. It is, I don't even know how many emails I get. Some days I must get 30, 40, 50 or more. Maybe some days, maybe, I don't know. We ever hit 100 in one day? So she answers a lot of my emails and then tells me what I just said. But without these two, and without the rest of this great team, I wouldn't have had a chance this year. It's not me up here. I'm just trying to be the pretty face, the cheerleader, cheering on all the clubs to be the best that they can be. I've had an absolute ball doing it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right.
Yes, sir. You can do it. Thank you, Jamie. Okay.
All right. Thank you, District Governor Greg Horn. And because this is the 2019 through 2021 district conference, we want to hear from Mo Fritz Roberts as well. So Mo, if you're still dialed in, we want to hear your in person thank yous to your folks that helped you through your 2019-2020 year. Mo Fritz Roberts. Oh, giddy up, atta girl.
I want you to know how grateful I am for having had the opportunity to be your district governor in 2019-2020. When I started on this incredible journey, my goal was to help you to have strong clubs and to help you grow Rotary. You've come through in spades. The 2019-2020 Rotary year was like an old Clint Eastwood movie. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good has been you. You are also welcoming and so effective in the service you provide. Rotary leaders would call me and ask, what's our secret formula in 50/20? We're a district in North America that was growing its membership both last Rotary year and in this current one. And you're doing an awesome job of spreading the message of Rotary. I also got emails from so many districts around the world wanting to know how we managed to afford to put out such an incredible magazine, UD 50/20. Caleb created this new format. You heard Greg talk about it, and it was your support, your enthusiastic participation that filled that magazine. It was also evident to me from your donations to the Rotary Foundation in 2019-2020 that you took me up on my challenge to donate at least the value of 2 coffees per month to the Rotary Foundation. The bad is what we suddenly had to stop in our tracks. The COVID-19 pandemic hit Rotary hard. We were supposed to stay home. We had to cancel our training and conference weekend. It was scary, yet you stepped up. You found solutions. You're doing as much in your community now as ever. It's just different. You're still holding meetings, but maybe you're just meeting on a computer or your smartphone, and you're often getting more members attending than normal. And when they don't attend, you're phoning them and keeping the Rotary spirit alive. You make me humble. And there's no ugly in District 50/20. I've never been prouder to be a Rotarian than I am right now. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your generosity of spirit. I feel incredibly lucky to have worked with the team that makes up your district council. They managed to find time to give their talents and their time to help all 92 clubs and Rotaract clubs and the projects you want in our district, like Youth Exchange, Interact, Friendship Exchange. Thank you to all the clubs for accepting the many challenges that I gave you last year. You responded so positively to group meetings, so I've partied with you. I've attended your races and events. It was a lot of fun. The truth is, I could not have gotten through all the bumps and hurdles without the support and guidance of past District Governor Craig. He has a calm, positive, forward-thinking approach to life. When things were going sideways, I could talk to Craig, and voila, the world was a better place. And we have a positive, we can do anything leader take the helm this year. DG Greg has the biggest smile and heart. He looks at the district and just knows you can achieve anything. He's a very lucky man because his chief of staff has an eye for detail and can whip her way around any computer. Greg, I hope you've had a wonderful year as district governor. For me, it was like having my big brother coming to visit. Then there is money. Our district has a very large budget, and luckily we had Janet Dietering as district treasurer. She was a true treasure to me as she guided me through the financial responsibility of being governor. It's one of the scary things I didn't mention earlier. Love you, Janet. And I can't stop before I thank an important group. I could not have had such a brilliant year if it were not for every single Rotary Club president in District 5020. Yes, you guys rock. You did all the homework. I sent you out before your year even started. You were inspirational leaders in a time when the world really needed leaders. You will be forever remembered as the 2020 COVID-19 presidents. I wanted you to be remembered as the Aloha presidents, but we never made it to Hawaii. You have my eternal gratitude. You also have my encouragement to continue to step forward, to take on leadership roles in our district. It's so heartening to see some of you presidents who've become assistant governors and committee members. And last, but never least, I need to thank my Batman. Dale was the reason I joined Rotary. Not that he asked me to join, you've all heard that story, but because he inspired me. I saw the passion he had for this organization and I wanted to know more. I cannot thank him enough for opening the door to this incredible adventure and for his constant support and love. So all of you, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mo Fritz Roberts, your past district governor. What a gracious lady. Greg, you got a few more comments?
I got a couple, Jamie.
All right.
I mentioned earlier I love technology. And I wanted to share a couple of examples that really stick in my mind with how far we've come. Several months ago, I was zooming into a meeting of one of the Olympia Rotary clubs. And I did not know it at the time, right? In all of the pictures that were on the Zoom screen were a couple that were vacationing in South Africa, middle of the night, but they were at a club meeting. That showed me the power of Zoom. And then I was on a club meeting. It was either one of the Sequim clubs or Port Angeles clubs, I forgot which. And one of the women in the club wanted to listen to my official governor talk. And she did so, riding up Schweitzer Basin ski area, gondola, listening to my talk on her iPhone. And I could look at the screen and see the background of Schweitzer Mountain there. What technology that we've got going for us. You can be anywhere and be at your Rotary meeting. That really opened my eyes. And then the last thing, I really hope this is going to go down in history. We have gone 128 days without a case of polio on Earth. We've got to go a full 3 years, but we've got a good start. And I would be proudest if during this year is the start of the end of polio on Earth. Thank you very much for allowing me to serve.
Greg, thank you. Hey, and thanks. You know, we had some great people tonight. I want to thank Gary Fraze and sharing his talents for singing the anthems for us, and Howard Svagals for showing his passion for the Rotary Foundation. Certainly, past District Governor Mo Fritz Roberts and her incredible energy and her gracious demeanor. And Caleb and Corey and Marnie and Jerry and Mary for putting on this program and certainly turning the Keller Williams building into the training facility into Studio 1A. We appreciate that. want to thank Jorita Solari and certainly Jennifer Jones for their nice speeches, and they're just incredible, and we appreciate that. And certainly Tom, the Rotary Youth Exchange alumni, we appreciate your words as well. And before we ring the bell, though, we do get to do something really fun, and this is the ceremonial passing of the gavel from District Governor Greg Horn to District Governor-elect Lorna Curtis. So,
thank you,
District Governor.
I'd love to pass it to Lorna. I know we passed it from Mo to me last year virtually, if you watched the video. And it left Canada, it was pretty good size. And by the time it got here, it was normal gavel size. So I'm gonna miss you, gavel. But here we go. I'm gonna miss you. Lorna, you got a great year ahead. God bless you. I'm here to help you any way I can. Thank you, Lorna.
Thank you, DG Greg. Don't go away. Come back, Greg.
Great.
Now I have a few words to say. Greg, I'm sure when you became district governor, you had no idea that you would spend so much time virtually meeting with clubs. Not to mention the endless hours of virtual meetings. What a difference from past district governors. But this allowed you to meet with more clubs, more visits. Greg moved the district into DAC-DB. He started monthly virtual assistant governor meetings to share information. He developed a tech team to help clubs with Zoom and hybrid meetings. He encouraged clubs to help with the rollout of the COVID vaccine. He applauded and encouraged those clubs who went out of the box during the pandemic to creatively continue with club projects and fundraisers. DG Greg, you have been a great head cheerleader for our district during this very different year. Leading the district during these unusual times has not been easy and requires creativity, flexibility, and patience. As a district, we have been so lucky to have DG Greg steer us through uncharted waters. And what the perfect job for someone who lives, works, and plays on the water. Greg, we would like to present you with your past district governor pin, and I believe your wife, Mary, is going to pin it on you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Take your time with that. Picture of it.
And we also have a small memento from the district to thank you for your time as district governor.
Wow. Wow, thank you. Keep me on time here. Beautiful watch, or beautiful clock. Presented to Greg Horn, District Governor 2020-2021, with sincere appreciation for your dedication and contributions to District 5020, the greatest district in the world. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Now, if I could ask Mary to come up.
Mary, come up again.
They say behind every successful man is a woman. And this is so true with our Chief of Staff, Mary Horn. She has been such a trooper, filling in and helping wherever possible. Whether it was meeting agendas, DAC-DB questions, training, dealing with calls and emails, or being a sounding board for the DG line. Mary, you have gone above and beyond in supporting DG Greg as well as the district. On numerous occasions, I have asked for your help, and you have always stepped up willingly. I would like to take this opportunity to personally thank you, as well as thank you on behalf of the district. On behalf of the district, Mary, we would like to present you with these flowers. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorna.
And also a plaque to commemorate your help and support over the past year.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
Most
you.
of the time.
Thank you, everybody.
Now, I'd just like to say a few words about the upcoming Rotary year, when hopefully we will no longer be waiting to hear about the most recent COVID numbers and the restrictions. With the pandemic almost behind us, hopefully we can shake hands and embrace each other once again. During 2021-22 Rotary year, I challenge each Rotarian in District 5020 to introduce at least one person to Rotary, take part in at least one club fundraiser, and take part in at least one club service project. Rotary's past was to focus on perfect attendance. Rotary's future is to focus on perfect engagement. In the coming months, you'll also hear about some district initiatives and special grants to help clubs, so stay tuned. And we can all look forward to May 13th, 14th, 2022. If all goes well, we're planning an in-person conference in Victoria. I'm looking forward to giving more information about that soon, and so register early. We have some rooms reserved at the Grand Pacific Hotel, and we were able to get a special rate at the Fairmont Empress Hotel. And on Saturday night, we're gonna have a Texas barbecue. So get your cowboy hat on and your boots and come ready to party, because we're gonna celebrate being together again. In the meantime, I am very thankful that I will get to meet with all the clubs in person. Hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Until then, thank you for all the work and commitment each of you gives to Rotary. The world is a better place with people like you in it.
Your incoming district governor, Lorna Curtis. Giddy up. Nice job. Hey, again, thanks everyone for joining us tonight for our 2-year virtual conference. We look forward to seeing you all in person, certainly this time next year and hopefully a lot sooner. Thank you everyone for your passion for this incredible organization. Thank you for your personal and your financial commitment to this organization and to each other and to the communities that you serve. And thank you for your willingness to participate at any level to serve your communities and to serve Rotary. God love you. Thanks for coming. Good night.